位亲爱的贵宾，大家早安，大家好！非常欢迎各位参加2022电电工会国际链接论坛。在活动前也提醒各位，请记得将您的手机关机或转为震动。Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2022 TEEMA Global Networking Forum. And here to remind you that please don't forget to turn your mobile phone into silent mode. 那为了配合政府的防疫措施，也提醒各位，请记得全程佩戴您的口罩。Please don't forget to wear the mask during the forum. 那我们大会也准备了同步口译的设备。那如果有需要的朋友呢，请携带您的证件到报到处来租借。And we also prepare simultaneous interpretation service. Please feel free to borrow with your ID card if you need it. 那需要聆听中文的朋友呢，请按频道1。If you need the English version, please switch into channel 2. Thanks for your cooperation. 那今天大会也准备了摸彩环节，要邀请各位一同来参与。那只要今天全程参与大会的朋友呢，就有机会可以获得我们为您准备的全联礼券。那请各位利用中午的休息时间投入您的摸彩券。我们的摸彩箱呢，即将在2点钟的时候进行封箱，也会在今天大会的最后抽出今天的幸运儿。那请记得务必在中午的时候投入您的抽奖券。And we also prepared the lucky draw today. For the guests who complete today's forum, we will have the chance to win a gift certificate in the end. And please remember to put the lottery ticket into the box during the lunchtime before 2 o'clock. 我们的论坛即将于5分钟后开始，请各位先稍后。再次感谢各位的莅临。Our event will begin in 5 minutes. Please take your seats. Thanks for your cooperation.那今天呢，非常感谢各位贵宾踊跃的参与。其实，在线上也有非常多的朋友与我们一同参加进行今天的即时互动。那也请线上的朋友呢，稍后我们的活动马上在5分钟后就要开始了，请各位贵宾先稍后。非常感谢各位的配合。 各位亲爱的长官、贵宾，还有产业先进的朋友们，2022电电工会国际链结论坛正式开始。现场所有的长官、贵宾，还有所有业界先进的朋友们，大家早安，大家好，我是今天的司仪 Tiffany， 非常荣幸可以担任本次的司仪，也很欢迎各位与我们一同共襄盛举。那今天除了所有我们现场的贵宾，也有许多我们线上的朋友和我们一同及时参与，非常感谢各位的朋友的支持。那首先呢，在活动的一开始，也请让我来为各位介绍今天与会的贵宾，也请所有我们唱名道的贵宾起身向后方的来宾挥手致意。In the very beginning, please allow me to introduce our honorable guests today. So for the guests, please stand up and say hello to the audience when your name is called. 那首先呢，就让我们来欢迎台湾区电机电子工业同业工会李诗清李理事长，欢迎。欢迎台湾区电机电子工业同业工会廖伯熙副理事长暨国际经贸委员会召集人，欢迎。欢迎国立台湾大学社会科学院苏宏达院长。欢迎欧洲在台商务协会张汉书张理事长，欢迎理事长。And next, welcome Mr. Philip Greg Zavolsky, Head of European Economic and Trade Office in Taiwan. 欢迎中华民国经济部工业局杨志兴杨副局长，欢迎局长。
Director General of Yang of Industrial Development Bureau. Now let's welcome CEO Chen. Welcome. And Dr. Lin Zhou Chen, Deputy Director of Research Division 1, Taiwan Institute of Economic Research. And Mr. Welcome all the guests to participate in this forum. And we know TEEMA in Taiwan for many years engaged in Taiwan's ICT industries to have the spirit of innovation, sustainability, to stand in Taiwan to deploy it in the global. And every year we will have this networking forum. And this year our forum has focused on global, Europe, France, Germany's markets to talk about energy policy, energy storage, and wind power, electric EV. So we have invited the experts in the hope to provide all the members the latest information from Europe through government agencies, National Taiwan University College of Social Science, and also European Chamber of Commerce, European Economic Trade Office. We hope to enhance Taiwan and Europe, the green industries cooperation and exchange. So for the electrical and electronics industry have new thoughts. In the beginning, let us invite TEEMA Vice Chairman, Mr. Paul Liao, to give us the opening remark. Let us welcome him.
Chairman Lee, Dr. Su of College of Social Sciences, National Taiwan University, Chairman Zhang of the European Chamber of Commerce, Taiwan, Mr. Gregorowski of European Economic and Trade Office in Taiwan, Mr. Yang of the Bureau of Industry of Ministry of Economic Affairs, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of TEEMA, I sincerely welcome you to come here today. Since 2020, TEEMA has actively visited representative offices of various countries in Taiwan and contacted foreign governments, international organizations, and sister associations to maintain international communication channels and exchange information on ICT, semiconductors, electric vehicles, 5G, sustainable development, green energy, and environmental protection, net zero carbon emissions through multilateral and bilateral interactions. We provide member manufacturers with information on investment environment and preferential measures in various countries, striving to assist our members to grasp the business opportunities in the supply chain during the pandemic and link with global investment planning. Recently, sustainable development and climate change have become important issues. Both Taiwan and Europe are actively promoting green energy transformation policies in order to help its ICT member manufacturers grasp the huge business opportunities of green energy in Europe and enter the European green supply chain market. TEEMA, in concert with the College of Social Sciences of National Taiwan University and the European Union Center in Taiwan, organized this event. It is a great honor to invite experts from Taiwan and Europe to discuss energy policy, energy storage, wind power, and EVs, and to provide member manufacturers with the latest information on European green business opportunities based on global issues related to the development of the new energy industry. Through incisive analysis and suggestions of the officials from the Ministry of Economic Affairs, the European Economic and Trade Office, the European Business Association in Taiwan, and industry representatives from Taiwan and Europe, we will promote Taiwan-Europe green industry exchange and cooperation, open up a new operation thinking for the electrical and electronic industries, and jointly create a new horizon in 2023. This forum consists of the morning and afternoon sessions. The theme of the morning session is energy. The afternoon session is an industry forum focusing on exchanges in the fields of energy storage, wind power, and EV between Taiwan and Europe. In addition, this event specially invited Danfoss from Denmark, ABB from Sweden, TUV from Germany, NLX from Italy, PE from Spain, and WPD from Germany to set up booths on the spot. Guests and manufacturers are welcome to visit and exchange opinions during the tea time. I'm glad to see that Taiwan-EU economic and trade relations have continued to flourish in recent years. According to statistics, in 2021, the bilateral trade volume between Taiwan and EU increased by more than 30% compared with 2020, reaching $68 billion US. As of August this year, Taiwanese businesses invested in the EU has cumulatively exceeded $8 billion US, and European businessmen directly invested in Taiwan has accumulatively exceeded $54 billion US, making EU the largest source of foreign investment in Taiwan. With bilateral investment increasing, TEEMA is very much looking forward to promoting cooperation between Taiwan and Europe in the fields of energy storage equipment, EVs, and wind power, and combining mutual advantages, strengthening cooperation in the green supply chain through this seminar. According to the statistics of the Ministry of Economic Affairs, the output value of electrical and electronic industry and related upstream and downstream industries will account for nearly 58% of Taiwan's total industrial output value in 2021, and export value of electrical and electronic industry and related industries will account for 60% of Taiwan's total export value. According to the statistic, among 845 major power consumers, ICT manufacturers accounted for 334, and according to the Environment Protection Agency, among 287 major carbon emitters. ICT manufacturers accounted for 113. In response to the call for environmental protection and sustainable development, TEEMA has actively adjusted steps to actively promote sustainable development. This is also the original of TEEMA to call on manufacturers to actively assume social responsibility. We all know that in the process of net zero transformation, there are countless obstacles and difficulties to overcome and face. In addition to reducing carbon emissions, various countries also regard net zero as a net growth momentum for their future economy. Taiwan's manufacturing industry is strong, and the semiconductor and information communication industries have a complete supply chain with a strong advantage in global competition. In response to this wave of net zero challenges, the ICT industry, based on its original basic advantages, coupled with industrial transformation of future net zero development, has identified emerging technologies with foundation of political potential in the ICT industry. The European Commission announced the 210 billion EU Repower EU plan in May to strengthen the diversification of energy supply, accelerate the transition to renewable energy, and improve energy efficiency. All EU policies will be adjusted in line with the goals of the European New Deal. Against the backdrop of the EU's development of green energy, Taiwan should deepen the green cooperation with Europe. This year, the National Development Council released the Taiwan 2050 Net Zero Emissions Path and Strategy. Taiwan must be in line with the international standards and work together to combat climate change and environmental degradation. Taiwanese enterprises should accelerate their transition to net zero. TEEMA encourages small and medium-sized enterprises to make inroads into the EU and make good use of the WTO platform to enter the international market. We also call for attention to border carbon adjustment mechanism to avoid creating unfavorable conditions for competition. At last, I would like to thank all the officials, distinguished guests, representatives of manufacturers, and ladies and gentlemen of the press for their presence and guidance, adding luster to this forum. I will wish this forum a smooth and complete success and wish everyone good health and prosperous development in their careers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
节目至此，请副理事长可以先回座休息。那紧接着呢，接下来我们要来邀请台湾大学。
They invite Dr. Su, Dean of College of Social Science, National Taiwan University, to give us the opening remark. Let us welcome him.
Li 理事长、廖副理事长。
Good morning, Chairman Li, Vice Chairman Liao, Mr. Wang, Mr. Gregorency, Chairman Zhang, and ladies and gentlemen. Let me express my gratitude and blessing to every one of you. Good morning. The School of Social Sciences of the National Taiwan University and the European Union Center in Taiwan are highly honored to have this opportunity to co-organize this forum with the TEEMA, which covers the topics of energy, industry, and Taiwan-Europe cooperation. About a year ago, we and the European Union Center in Taiwan began intensive contacts and discussions with TEEMA for the following reasons. 4 reasons. First, the change of the geopolitics. Today, we have entered a post-globalization era as regionalization, bloc alliances, and geopolitical shifts have come to dominate the trend of the world situations. Development of the countries and strategic planning of industries Therefore, when planning for future, we must take fully into account the development of the geopolitics and regional alliances. Second, sustainable development and net zero carbon emissions are being covered by international laws. In the future, any industry and investment plan must be taken into account the ESG goals of the United Nations, as well as the regulatory constraints and opportunities arising from the climate change and sustainable development. When we are doing the research, we need to do the similar thing. And these have far exceeded the scope of the economy and counting. It also to cover the social aspects like getting rid of poverty. And we have recognized the importance of social resilience since the outbreak of the pandemic. The stability of society is an important consideration. If the if the society has this resilience to cope with the situations, is a very important consideration. We need to consider many factors. For example, the characteristics of the country in which the investment is made, and fourth, in terms of geopolitical risk assessment, net zero carbon emission policy norms. The EU and European companies are undoubtedly the pioneers in the world. For example, the European Union created the world's first carbon emissions trading market and trial implementation of important carbon tariffs will begin in 2023. This is a very big impact for Taiwan business. So how to strengthen cooperation with EU and European companies and obtaining the first-hand information has become a challenge and opportunity for Taiwan industries. So when developing future industries and energy sources, we must also take into account geopolitical opportunities and risks and constraints and opportunities related to the norms, such as social and risk and net zero environmental climate and overall social resilience. So we need to therefore the College of Social Science of the National Taiwan University, with expertise in economic, politics, and social science, and the European Union Center in Taiwan, feel duty-bound to cooperate with Taiwan's industry to work and think together. So we talked with the TEEMA and decided to work together. This is the first forum. I think in the future we're going to have more exchanges and to work with the Taiwan industry, so we can bring the industry and academia of Taiwan to another height, so we can more accurately adjust our teaching, so we can cultivate the first-class talents needed by the country and create a win-win situation for everyone. At last, I wish the forum every success and good health and safety to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Su. Next, let us invite Mr. Henry Chen, Chairman of the European Chamber of Commerce Taiwan, ECCT. Let's welcome him. Chairman Lee of TEEMA, my good friend, Vice Chairman Mr. Liao, Dr. Su,
EU Representative Philippe, and 经济部的杨副局长
and Deputy Director General Yang of Industrial Development Bureau. Good morning, everyone. This theme of the forum is focusing on energy transformation, enhancing industrial growth. ECCT last week announced 2023's recommendation paper in which highly concerning energy transformation issues come up with a tangible actions. We need to pay attention that in this proposal, it emphasizes the government and the industries in cope with the future growth need to have a very aggressive measures, including encouraging enterprises to participate and to simplify the legislation and processes and to get a permit. With the EV, ECCT will aggressively to support and to call for the change and the incentive and also the exemption and try to enhance the charging facilities to change current construction's legal permit and use to allow in the city and the countryside on the land to construct charging stations. Europe is for the renewable energy and automobile manufacturing's leading position in Taiwan for electronics manufacturing advantages and strengths. Taiwan and Europe in energy transformation set up cooperation partnerships. We think we have a very good chance. So ECCT will continue to support, to construct mutual benefit partnership and to enhance Taiwan's economy.
To all attendees, 也在此祝力此事
and to hope that the success of this forum. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman Zhang.
Mr. Philip Greg-Zawolski, head of European Economic and Trade Office in Taiwan, to say a few words. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Philip Greg-Zawolski. Welcome.
Chairman Li of TEEMA, Vice Chairman Liao of TEEMA, and Dr. Su from College of Social Science, National Taiwan University, Industrial Development Bureau, Deputy Director General Yang, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and also from ECCT, Dr. Su. Today, I'm quite honored to participate in this international networking forum conducted by TEEMA.
I'm really happy to be here today, and I'm very grateful to Richard, who is an engine of cooperation, economic cooperation between the European Union and Taiwan. This particular event would not happen without support of good friends of Europe. And I'm really, really grateful for everything that you're doing. And it's coming from your heart, it's your initiative, and I'm really, really grateful. Thank you very much. That's the first thing that I wanted to say. You deserve an applause. Now, you know that the European Union and Taiwan are truly like-minded partners, and we not only share common values of freedom, of democracy, rule of law, human rights, and respect for diversity, but we are also good economic partners. Now, our trade relations between the European Union and Taiwan went up from, I think, the 14th place for the EU, well, Taiwan being the 14th EU's largest trading partner. Now it became the 12th biggest EU trading partner during really, really difficult times of the pandemic. For Taiwan, the EU is the 4th largest partner in the world. This is really speaking more than any speeches that we could deliver together. This is how interlinked we are. So the European Union is Taiwan's also biggest, largest investor. And that is accounting for around 1/4 of all Taiwan's foreign direct investments. And this number translates into jobs. It translates into prosperity of Taiwanese people. It translates into more of internationalization of Taiwan, into standards that the European Union companies bring into Taiwan. Henry, my good friend here, heading the European Chamber of Commerce, has the privilege of chairing the organization that brings together more than 1,000 entities, European entities in Taiwan. That's amazing. That's the biggest chamber in Taiwan. When I say the biggest, it means that it's bigger than the American one. So we are really, really interconnected, and Europe's diversity drives the innovation and stimulates companies to grow. The European Union offers really unique opportunities for Taiwan, for Taiwanese companies, and we have created in Europe a single market with 450 million consumers, where people, goods, and services and capital can move freely. Investing in any European country means that Taiwanese products, your products, can be sold without any trade barriers for the 27 European Union member states. Europe has highly innovative and high-class industries, and the EU and Taiwan have shared history in developing excellent technology together. We all know TSMC, the world's leading foundry, relied on the Dutch multinational Philips help to start in the critical early years. And ASML is also an established force for Taiwan's semiconductor industry. Now, we've been arguing for the last at least 3 years. It's time for the Taiwanese companies to come back to Europe, to their European sources, and to build more partnership with our companies back in Europe. And now it's time to create new chapters for excellence. And this is why we encourage Taiwan to go Europe. And this is this forum today is one of the key elements of us talking to each other and trying to build new bridges and encourage Taiwanese companies to explore the opportunities that await them in Europe. So Richard, thank you. We live in challenging times because of Russia's war against Ukraine. The European Union is more integrated and more resilient than ever. Taiwan decided to stand on the right side of history and now also implemented sanctions against Russia and Belarus. When I'm talking to the business representatives, I really understand that sometimes these sanctions mean less profit for you, for the companies, but it's really important. Values actually matter. And these are those moments in history when you can prove that values are important for you. So if I may encourage you to keep on implementing sanctions, be on the right side of history. Profit will come anyway, but the values, once you compromise on values, you're lost. So we are there together, and I'm very grateful for Taiwan's solidarity. We need to build together stronger and more resilient global supply chains to face these new challenges. All 27 EU member states are committed to turning the European Union into the first climate-neutral continent by 2050 and pledged to reduce net greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by 2030. Professor Su spoke about concrete elements of the SDGs that are all over doing business and also academic work. The European Green Deal is an investment plan that will mobilize at least €1 trillion in sustainable investments over the next decade through the EU budget and associated instruments, in particular the Invest EU program for private and public climate and environment-related investments. And we are now more motivated than ever to work with our trustworthy friends to achieve these goals. So that's an opportunity for Taiwan. The EU is accelerating the green and digital transition as its industrial strategy. The green transition presents a major opportunity for the industry by creating markets for clean technologies, sustainable products and services. And it will have an impact across entire value chains in sectors such as energy and transport, construction and renovation, helping to create innovation, investment and jobs across Europe. And you can be part of this success. So let me encourage you to make friends, to inquire about possibilities for being more present in Europe. And I wish you all good exchanges today and a good discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Philip Grace. Thank you very much. And we believe through the forum will further enhance bilateral cooperation. 那接下来我们要有请中华民国。
Let's welcome Deputy Director General from the Industrial Development Bureau, Mr. Yang, to give us some words. Okay, Chairman and Vice Chairman of TEEMA and Dr. Gao and Dr. Chang. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Industrial Development Bureau to participate this 2022 TEEMA Global Networking Forum conducted by TEEMA. The morning's session focusing on next year's issues. Energy transformation in Taiwan is a very important topic. We can invite all walks of experts to share with us to Taiwan's future green energy advancement. I'm sure we will have a lot of help. Taiwan and global countries are the same. We're facing the net zero transformation and the climate change issues to develop new and green energy technology, which is a very important topic. All the countries in energy transformation, it is a very important strategy. And Taiwan has announced in March 30th Taiwan's energy transformation program. After this announcement, there's a very important topic. In 2050, in green energy, we will take the share of 60 to 70% in this process. The energy supply, electricity stability, and grid resilience become very important. Therefore, that the MOEA in the energy storage, we will have a lot of concerns. And first of all, talk about TPC to look at the resilience of the grid. We have the 2.6 gigawatt is the water pumping, and we have added some energy storage facility. The goal is by 2050 to increase 1,500 megawatts. So this is in the tendering already. And next, in the environmental measures, storage and should be developed with legislations, policies should go by with it. And fireproof also should have a good policy. And we have announced a good indicator. And then October 11 of this year, we have an auto check standard for the outdoor. We have this already. So for the enterprises in focusing on the grid resilience to have better measures to go by that. Going back to the energy issues we are facing 2050, the net zero emission, we want to get to this goal. And including today's topic, we'll talk about hydrogen and battery. And these are concerned by MOEA. yet, so we do have the related topics to be discussed next week. Minister will discuss with about the energy's development and batteries development. The minister is also looking into this. Going back to the big scale, in facing 2050 net zero emission and manufacturing in Taiwan, the emission is about 51% in Taiwan. Several numbers for you. 2020, the whole Taiwan's carbon emissions about 2.58 billion ton. So 51% is 140 million tons. So in ICT in here is about 22 to 23%. It's a little bit more. We have Taiwanese business coming back to Taiwan, so it increases a little bit. So in responses to internationals, the change of the economic trend also responded to your actual investment. And needless to say, electricity's use, the stability of the grid is very important to help everyone in the factory to enhance the energy saving program. That is what we want to do. And these topics relating to today's theme, we hope the distinguished guests share with us. And so when we leave, we have a more enriched knowledge that we can gain to be more effective. So I would like to ask everyone to have a more feedback so we can work together to move forward. So we hope the success of this forum. Thank you very much.
以致辞。
We thank all the guests for their speeches, addresses. Now let's welcome Chairman Lee of TEEMA, who will address us. Let's give him a big applaud. On behalf of TEEMA, I sincerely thank you for attending this forum, and also the those who participate online for the strong support of this international networking forum. When we are not able to fly around because of the pandemic, but it cannot stop us from holding this forum. In 2022, TEEMA networked with Mexico, Czech Republic, Slovakia. Last year, we networked with Japan and India. This year, in 2022, we networked with the European Union to focus on energy storage, wind power, and EVs. EU is the biggest source of investment overseas, accounting for 1/4 of the foreign investments in Taiwan. EU is one of 3 biggest economies in the world. EU has vowed to become the first carbon neutrality economy with net zero emission. In this February, Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia reduced its supply to EU and even threatened to cut the supply of natural gases in response to the economic sanctions of EU, which has caused the cost of energy to surge, and the most serious inflation since the end of World War II. And Europe is facing the coldest winter now. However, the member countries of EU strive to resist the energy blackmail of Russia. So during the past months, the 27 member countries, 19 of them have had a record high wind power generation, and their decision we can Taiwan can copy their example, and we have the Mr. Gorgansky and the Chairman Chang of the European Commerce in Taiwan. We thank for their long-term support. We're especially thankful to Dr. Su for co-organizing this international networking forum. We want to especially thank Mr. Liao and all the members of the committee for the preparation, and thank you for your participation. Thank you, Chairman Liao. Now we'd like to.
Now I would like to invite all of you to. 先呢，我们要再次来邀请台湾区电机电。
So let's welcome Vice Chairman Liao of TEEMA to come forward to the stage. Now let us welcome Dr. Su from College of Social Science, National Taiwan University. And then let us welcome Deputy Director General Yang from Industrial Development Bureau. So let us welcome Mr. Henry Chan from ECCT to take a group photo, and let's remove the masks when taking a group photo. And then we will have 2 rounds of group photo taken, so let's remove the mask first.
Right in front of you. 好，给我们一个微笑 ，Give me a big smile。好，那接下来第2张呢，右手借给我一起比个赞，好吗？ That's thumbs up, also symbolize wish all the best and all the success for today's event. 好，我们看向前方，3、2、1 ，OK. Thank you once again. Thanks for all of our distinguished guests. 谢谢各位贵宾，也请先回座。And now you can return to your seats. Thank you. 谢谢今天所有贵宾以及现场呢。
Thank you for all the participants and guests. So I think that in promoting the transformation of green energy, government, industry, and academics are all very important. So next, we would like to start 2022 TEEMA Global Networking Forum Session 1. First of all, in here, we would like to introduce moderator Dr. Su Ding of College of Social Science, National Taiwan University. Let us welcome moderator Dr. Su. Okay, let us welcome Dr. Su. Chairman, Vice Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I would just to introduce the first sessions. First session for the forum, we have 2 aspects. One is energy and linking to the industry. Another one is a European aspect. So we have 4 very important speakers, and then we have a panel discussion. So let's introduce the speakers and the topics and invite them one by one to give us the speeches. First one, we'll talk about French energy policy and industrial development. We have invited journalist Drew Bay, who is an expert in attention to the advanced technology for energy. So please stand up with your hands. Okay, welcome him. And we know French energy policy may not be the same for all the European countries. So let's hear from France. Second, cooperation of Taiwan and Europe upon net zero emission and the hydrogen industry. We have invited Dr. Lin Ruozhen, Deputy Director of Research Division 1, Taiwan Institute of Economic Research. Yes, please stand up. Thank you. Then the third, we want to talk about the next generation solid-state metal air batteries. It's from Dr. Liu, Distinguished Professor of Department of Chemistry, National Taiwan University. Let us welcome Professor Liu. The fourth, we'll talk about German energy issues. Oh, he's not here yet. Okay. So I will introduce him later then. So can we invite Jonathan Drouet, talk about French energy policy and industrial development. Let's welcome Drouet.
Dr. Xu. Guest, thank you very much for having me here today to present to you the energy policy in France to reduce carbon emission and also how the industry and what industry can do to help in this field. Thank you very much to TEEMA for organizing this forum. I believe this is this kind of event where actually exchanging ideas will bring us together to create more cooperation and in the end to reach our common goals. So we often say a picture worth 1,000 words. In my case, it's a graphic. This graphic is from the website Our World in Data, which is quite an interesting one. And you can see the emission, CO2 emission per year for France and Taiwan. Actually, I wanted to check before doing this presentation, where were we exactly together? This emission only focus on fossil fuels and industry, but you have something very interesting to see, and I will start directly with the end, is actually right now France and Taiwan has very, very similar emissions, which is the first thing that I noticed when I thought that. The second thing is to show you that it's possible actually to reduce emissions and quite fast actually. France did it in the 70s, 75s, and it was mainly following the oil crisis that happened in 1973. And this big drop that you can see is actually the share of nuclear power plant that increased drastically at this moment. So this was the first step where we started to decrease the emission. In the following year, like for example, in the last 20 years, we keep decreasing our emission. The reasons are a little bit different, various. There are more renewable energies, of course, but it's also because the industries, like in France, the industry dropped a little bit for services application. So there is different explanation for this drop. Regarding Taiwan, the very interesting thing to notice is for the last 20 years, your carbon emissions are quite stable. And usually a stable can be followed after by a drop. And although the analysis regarding this stability is not quite sure yet, I strongly believe that the government policies to develop renewable energy, especially offshore wind and solar panel, is actually already providing some results. So how France wants to reduce the carbon footprints? It's a very important question, and for that I will actually use reports, documents that has been, and laws that has been implemented in France. So first of all, I will talk about the Stratégie Nationale Bas Carbone, which is a net zero initiative in France, so to reach carbon neutrality by 2050, which basically gives the roadmap. The Programmation Pluriannuelle de l'Énergétique, so multi-year energy program, is part of the SNBC, but is more related to energy applications only, and especially the goals is not necessarily 2050, but it's actually what we will do next year and for the next 3 to 5 years. Future Energetic 2050, so energy forecast for 2050 is excellent work made by the RTE, which is the Network and Transportation Electricity Company in France, who is managing all the electricity. And they actually provided a report with different scenarios to achieve net zero for the electricity mix. And the final one will be more related to industry with, of course, a net zero impact on the net zero initiative. But France 2030 is a plan to transform France's economy to 2030. It has been launched 2020 or 2021. I don't remember exactly the date, but basically it covers a lot of different applications, industrial ones and energy ones. So the net zero strategy, what are the targets? Of course, we want to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050, but the good question is how to do it. What is the sector that has more impact? How can we, what would be the targets in the different sectors? So the Stratégie Nationale Bas Carbone answer actually this question. So it was implemented by law in 2015. So the first set of this strategy come back to 2015. It was dedicated to energy transition for green growth, of course, but also the policy making roadmap in terms of climate change mitigation. So how can we do, what can we adapt? The second edition, which was released in 2020, actually represented a 3 years work previous to this publication. The reason why is because you have to consult many different counterparts. Here we are at TEEMA, Global Networking. So imagine that you have this kind of event regarding what industrial can do, what policy can do, what governments can do in terms of policies, what the scientific expert says, but also what the public wants to say. So these 3 years of work, the result of these 3 years of work was published in 2020, and it set the national strategy, the net zero strategy, until 2050, but it has to be reviewed, of course, because the goals change. There is some different, like the current situation with the conflict in Ukraine shows that sometimes we also have to change, to update in order to achieve our goals. And the High Council for Climate is a governmental institution which is monitoring and also assessing the strategy in terms of with the different agreements, such as Paris Agreement, and also as with the European level, how are we? Is it good enough to the European standard? Is it not good enough? What can we improve, etc.? So what they do is they set carbon budget for 5 years. So every year, for 5 years, France will have this carbon budget. They should not exceed. That's how they work. The first one that they set up, so it was from 2015 to 2020, actually exceed a little bit. So we emit a little bit more than we expected. There is different reasons for that. The fossil fuels were actually pretty low. And also some of the targets we wanted to deploy, especially in the transportation, did not actually fulfill. So taking into account these different feedback allow us to update for the next carbon budgets for the next year, and step by step we actually deliver a more a roadmap that we actually can follow, that is going to be possible for us to follow. So the objective, of course, is to divide by 6 our 2050 emissions. And so there will be different reasons for that, and I will explain that a little bit in detail later. But the main objectives is, of course, to decarbonize the energy production, whatever is the energy. The reduce also. It's good to decarbonize, but it's also important to reduce our energy. So how can we do it? With reducing our consumption, but efficiency. As reducing the non-energy related emissions and the increase of carbon sinks. You can see on the graph on the right side that actually we are still planning to emit some CO2 in 2050. The reason is because there is incompressible emissions. You can have some different applications with you don't have any other solution. You can reduce as maximum, improve the efficiency, etc. But you reach a point where unfortunately, you will need fossil fuel, for example, petrol in the pharmaceutical industry or other kind of industry. So it's impossible to compress them, but you can develop carbon sinks. These sinks will allow you to be neutral. And so increasing the carbon sink, both with forestry, but both with technological upgrade, is something that we want to develop. So here I did, I get the number from the strategy from different sectors, which are actually the main emission sectors in France in 2017. So it gives the figures of emission in 2015, then what we want to reach in 2030, and then what we want to achieve in 2050. The transportation is the main one, mostly because our cars works with fuel, most of them so far. So the drop of emissions related to the transport industry is huge. We want to achieve 4 megatons of CO2 equivalent in 2050. This can be done by many different things. I think today we will have a presentation regarding the EV industry. That's one of the things, of course, we need to develop. But what about the public transportation, the different kind of usage? For example, in a city, how can we move differently to reduce the use of cars, to reduce the use of fossil fuel in general? How to create more public transport which is carbon friendly? For example, I took the EV bus to come here. This is something also is part of the strategy to reduce the carbon footprint. I will come back on the agriculture after because it's an interesting one. The third one is building. Building is important because most of the gas we use in France is used mostly for buildings application to heat. So in Taiwan, you don't have that much problem with heat. You prefer to cool down in summer. In France, it's basically the opposite. We want to be warm up in winter. And so our main consumption of gas is for the building, like for our home, basically. So there is different way, and especially in the context with the Ukraine war, it's something very important for us to reduce. So there are different things we can do. I will detail some later, but first of all, of course, is to reduce the use of gas, either by changing the technology itself to make it more efficient, or to switch to electricity-based heaters. And of course, there is a whole budget that is allocated to first renovating the old houses, the old buildings, but also for the new one that we want to build, you have to follow some specific restriction regarding the emission of the building, regarding how you produce it, etc., etc. The industry is also, as I mentioned, a big part of the emissions in France. As you see, the drop is not that significant, but it's still very significant. You divide almost by 3 or 4. But the thing is, some specific application to industry will always require fossil fuel. So there is things that you can actually fully change. However, there are things you can do to make it more efficient and to make it to make lower emission. The energy is also one of the big topics. So basically, we want to achieve in 2050 2 megatons of CO2 equivalent, which is very, very low. And I will detail a little bit later what we can do with that with a multi-year energy program. But I will come back quickly on the agriculture one because it's very interesting because agriculture touched 2 different topics. First of all, the emissions, but secondly, we want our food to grow close to us. If we have to import food from foreign countries, and then the emission, of course, will increase, but also we are part of a global market, and that can lead to some specific problems. So we want actually to produce in France, but agriculture is really fossil fuel based right now. First of all, because of the way we do it itself with a tractor and all this kind of thing, but also of the fertilizers that we use, which are mostly fossil fuel based, and also what is our diet. If it's a really meat-based diet, for example, then you will have more emission for you as your own carbon footprint. So there is a lot of topics to discuss about that. It can be like how to produce different kind of fertilizers, how to reassess the lands for better usage, how to develop agroecology, agroforestry to actually combine different kind of agriculture to make it less emissive. And of course, the final one is regarding our diet. Do we choose to consume that much meat? Or that, in case of France, is also the dairy and the cheese is also very emissive. So it's something that we have to come back a little bit to what we eat in a more eco-friendly way. But it's a very interesting topic, especially because France is a huge agricultural land. I don't know if you have been in France, but if you go in the countryside, you will see a lot of different kind of agriculture type. So to come back on the energy, as I mentioned, we want to reduce the energy emissions to 20 megatons per year in CO2 emissions to 20 megatons per year in 2050. So the Programmation Pluriannuelle de l'Énergie, so multi-year energy program, is actually giving us how to do it, like the answer of well, what can we do to that. So it's a strategic document. So to set up the energy transition in France, it's only related to energy, but all the different type of energy, it can be fossil fuel, gas, electricity, heat, whatever is included in that. It was implemented in the energy transition law, and it's only specific in the French territory, but in Europe. For example, if you go in the different French islands you have in the Pacific Oceans, they have their own multi-year energy program because it's different from the context in Europe. So it's set up every 5 years. Actually, the first one was for 3 years program, and starting from 2024, it will be 5 years program. So every 5 years, we need to set up goals to reduce our energy emissions. It's also focused on the energy emission, but also on the supply. We need to be able to have the security of supply, both for the population, but also for our industries. And it's important also to be able to have a competitive price of energy, which is a big topic right now in Europe with the different market and problem of the electricity, gas bills, which explode. So actually, this document provides answer to that. So first of all is to reduce our energy consumption, and no surprise, the idea is to reduce the fossil energy. So for the goals right now are set up for 2028. So we want to reduce coal by 80%, oil by 34%, and gas by 22%. The reason why we still don't want to get rid of the coal, because some applications in the industry still require coal, but for example, for electricity production, we want to get rid of the coal-based power plants. So how to do it? This is a very important question. The first thing is the carbon price, which is something that can trigger the changes. So the actual price that will be helping France and different countries to develop new application and reduce our consumption of energy is 86 euro per ton of CO2 equivalent. So actually I checked yesterday, and the price right now is around 80 euros per ton. So we're kind of the price that is set up to actually change it. And we also need the European emission trading system, which is a market for the carbon footprints, and which actually help to reduce the energy, but also it triggers the industry and fossil energy intensive industry to change a little bit their habits. To reinforce a scheme, a financial scheme, which is called Certificate of Energy Saving, which are basically for the building industry. For example, if you switch from gas-based heaters to an electric-based heater, then you will have some incentives from the government, and the companies also will receive some incentives to develop this kind of new technology, which is more efficient and consume less gas. And also the renovations of buildings and setting regulations for new buildings construction. The EV has been mentioned a little bit earlier. In the first setup of the multi-year energy program, we wanted to have 100% sale of EV by 2040. So now this target has been a little bit updated to 2035 as part of a European decision. And of course to promote low carbon mobility, and as I mentioned at the beginning, reduce the share of coal in the industry. The second thing is to diversify the mix, the energy mix in general. So as I mentioned earlier, heat is actually what we consume energy in France. It's for heating. So the first one will be to have different kind of technology for producing heat in winter. So you have biomass, you have biogas, of course, you have solar thermal, and geothermia, which is something that is starting to get developed, especially to heat a building. So for 2028, we expect to increase a lot this different usage of heat production and to reduce the one with gas or coal or whatever is the other opportunities. The usage of biofuels. So we talk about the use of EV sales, 100% EV sales in 2035, but in the meantime, we actually will still continue to use fossil fuel-based car. We cannot really change that from today to tomorrow. So to include more biofuels in the fossil fuels is something that France started quite a long time ago with diesel and fuel, but it wants to get a little bit even more from to 2028. And the use of gas and H2 in particular. So the biogas, there are a lot of objectives to actually produce and inject directly in the gas network this biogas. So we want to almost double the production and to inject at least 20 terawatt of gas energy in the network. And H2 is a big topic too, for different reasons, because there is different kind of applications. So first of all is the power to gas. So you produce H2 that you put in the gas network and it can be used for heating. So that's one thing that allows you to reduce your gas consumption. The second thing is to produce H2 with electrolysis, so with low carbon electricity. And this H2, you actually use it in the industry because industry use a lot of H2, hydrogen. And so if you have, right now the way to produce hydrogen is very, very emissive, carbon emissive. So if you have a different way to producing H2, but the application, the usage are still the same, actually your industry reduces its carbon footprint. So we want to develop that more, and also for the heavy vehicles, so for the trucks, the bus, and train, applications are developing currently right now to have more of this kind of technology. Now we will only focus on the electricity, which is quite a big topic in France, especially because we have a share of nuclear, which is very important. So for that, I will actually base my presentation on Future Energetic 2050 by RTE. So it's a very, very impressive document, very well managed and documented. So it was on the request of the French government. And actually, the work itself took 2 years because they have to discuss with the International Energy Agency, the different counterparts, the electricity network, etc., etc. And also, they have to consult the public. Never forget that if you want to set up a policy, because your public has to be involved. Otherwise, if you decide you will do that, and the public is not involved, he will not actually want to follow, and that's the start of problems. So involving the public is key, and the publication has been done in 2021, and there are more detailed reports in 2022, but the 2021 key analysis is actually what we are looking for. And they focus on 4 aspects. So first, the technical. Is it possible? Do we have the technology to do it? Second one is economical. Will it be, do we have profit of that? How much will it cost, etc.? Environmental, what would be the impact of carbon emission of the different scenarios? And social, how many jobs will it create? What will be the opportunities for cities, for governments, etc.? They came up actually with 6 scenarios. 6 of them, these are the 6 scenarios that RTE and it's part of this report published. And 3 are without new nuclear and 3 are with new nuclear. So what we mean by new nuclear is mean that we actually produce new power plants. But without new nuclear, there is 2 scenarios that we still use historical nuclear that we already have right now. So the first one, which is called M0, is actually the one with no nuclear at all. We want to get rid of all our current nuclear power plants as soon as possible. And we want to heavily develop onshore wind, offshore wind, and of course solar panels. The second one is we stay a little bit longer with the historical nuclear. All these figures are in gigawatts, so it gives you the power of installation in the mix. So we see the M1, we still keep a little bit of historical nuclear until 2050, and the last one, we actually change a little bit the renewable energy share. So between the M1 and M23, so the second one and the third one, the difference is mostly the share of solar, which is drastically reduced to the third scenarios, and the share of onshore and offshore wind is increased a lot. So that's the first three scenarios without new nuclear. These are three scenarios with nuclear, so with new nuclear, sorry. So in this case, as you can see, it asks for the government and for EDF, which is the main electricity producer in France, to build new nuclear power plant, but at which level? Do we create 2, 3, how many reactors? So depending on the different possibilities, they release these three scenarios, which all of them include renewable energies. What we have to keep in mind, and I think is the most important thing to keep in mind in these different scenarios, is whatever happens, we have to develop renewable energy. Whatever we do, we have to develop renewable energy. So mainly offshore and onshore wind, but also solar. The thing that will change is the share of nuclear. If we extend the lifetime of nuclear power plant a bit, it will get easier for us to reach our goals. If we make new nuclear again, it will also be easier to reach carbon neutrality and to reduce the energy mix. But it faces technological problem that we have to solve. So whatever happens, we need both. In the idea, we need both nuclear and renewable. The thing that also we have to keep in mind is whatever happens, the share of nuclear in France will drop. Right now, for electricity production, the nuclear is about 70%. Well, currently, because we have many different problems, it's not 70%, but on nominal stage, it's 70%. So that means most of our electricity is low carbon. But whatever happens, this share has to drop to 50% by 2035. This is due to mostly of historical power plants. Some of them reach 40 years old. Soon they will reach 50, 60 years old. So at one point, you will have to decommissionize them because you cannot use them anymore. So the idea will be to extend their lifetime as much as possible and as safe as possible. And then after, you will have to decrease it. But I don't know if you remember, at the first slide, I show you that in the 70s, we developed a lot the nuclear energy in France. So all these power plants that has been developed at this moment, their lifetime actually start to reach 40 years old, which is the lifetime they were built for. So we still can extend it, but it has to follow some processes and it has to be done in a safe way. So whatever happens, the share of nuclear will drop to 50%. These are some acknowledgements from, they have 18 acknowledgements from this report, but I only choose 3 because I believe these are the most interesting and important one. So first of all, it's possible to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050 while keeping costs under a certain level with minimum risk. Everything, it's possible to do it. It's just in our hand. Last 3 minutes, okay. The second thing is to maximize low carbon generation and to have more ability to reach our goals. The share of nuclear, the longer we have it, the longer we keep it, the easier it is for us. Even though there is technological issue that we have to address, it will be easier. And the last thing, and I think is the most important one, is whatever the scenario considers, you have to act now. We have to act now. Whatever happens, whatever we choose, we have to do it now. In the following years, we'll give you the roadmap of the next 30 years. So I will go quickly on France 2030. So it's a dual ambition. It's a program with dual ambition. First of all, to focus on key sectors of economy through and to stimulate them through innovation and industrialization, and of course in some of these sectors to set up France as a leader in the world of tomorrow. So they are funding different stages. It can be fundamental research, industrial one. It can be demonstrators, pilot factory, but of course it can help to scale up for like an industrial company and to reach the stage of industrial production. So in total, it's 54 billion euros to 2030. This 54 has to be shared both with decarbonizing the industry. So I said before, it's focused on industry, but also the net zero initiative is still in mind. And the second half is to promote emerging players of innovation, for example, in quantum technology and other kind of different technology. For that, part of these 54 million, there are 20 billion, which are dedicated to a future investment program with two different kind of schemes to target acceleration of some industry, and of course to set up a structural innovation for people, for companies to evolve in a friendly environment to develop their ideas. And it's under this program is under the responsibility is the General Secretariat for Investment, which is directly under the Prime Minister. So here is an example of what can be done in research. So priority research program and equipment is actually a program, as its name indicates, to set up different kind of priorities for the French government in terms of research. So it can be to accelerate existing technologies or to explore new ones. So I know you will talk about hydrogen later, and for example in France you have one dedicated to hydrogen, which is piloted by two main institutions, CEA and CNRS. And the idea is to have 80 million euros to develop different kind of project, really early stage project, or to accelerate some already existing technology that we want to improve. So it's part of the national hydrogen strategy that I will not I'll finish quickly, that I will not produce, show you today, but France also have a national hydrogen strategy. And the last thing is an example of decarbonizing the industry. ArcelorMittal is a big producer of steel. So for example, in the manufacturing in Dunkirk and Fos-sur-Mer in France, they use different kind of technology to reduce their energy, such as electric arc furnace, but also direct system to cap emission, to cap CO2 and to cap pollutants, and to reduce global energy in France, in industry in France. So these are some examples. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I wish you a very pleasant presentation from the successors. And I will answer your question later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jonathan Drew.
Now we have Dr. Meg Lin. She's from Taiwan Institute of Economic Research. Let's welcome her. Good morning. I'm very happy to be here to participate in this forum to share with you Taiwan's efforts in net zero and the development trend of the industry. Recently, I had an opportunity to visit 4 countries, Europe, to understand the local policies and the development, and I would like to especially thank Jonathan because when I went to France, Jonathan was helping me with the arranging the visit with the government agencies. In my presentation, I will share with you the general direction and trend, and I would especially like to share with you something about what I did during the past month, and especially during the Russian-Ukraine war, which caused the energy shortage in Europe, and how France and Germany coped with the situation. And okay, uh, okay, I'll just hold it this way. Internationally, there have because the COP26 and COP26 and the climate meetings and the countries around the world are strongly promoting the net zero emission, and yeah, they were also talking about the 2050 carbon neutrality. And in Europe, there's the CBAM policy, which has a great impact on Taiwan. As you know that the manufacturing industry is well known in the world. And when I went to the foreign country, if they if I'm from Taiwan, they would associate with Taiwan with the chips and high tech. Taiwan is such a small island with so many manufacturing company. We actually consume a lot of electricity. So compared with the country with the same area, we emit more carbon than they do. So this is what we have to improve as we improve the chips. So how we need to think about how we can reduce carbon emission. This is the issue facing us. So this European policy, when it was announced, with the trend of the net zero emission, last year, President Tsai mentioned that the carbon neutrality is also the goal of Taiwan. And in U.S. and the Korea, there's a new green energy new deal, which covers the green finance and the energy transition and the carbon management system, which can be of great value to us as reference. On behalf of the Taiwan Institute of Economic Research, I worked. I also served the CEO of the Taiwan Fuel Cell Partnership, and I did a lot of research and work and learned from many industries. And I also thank TEEMA for inviting me to be the convener of the Energy Storage Alliance. I have experienced. The alliance has focused on the hydrogen and the other eco-friendly energy, especially the wind power and the solar energy are the energies which have been promoted most in recent years in Taiwan, and and they've been growing during the past years. So what concerns is that the renewable energy is intermittent source of energy, which can be difficult for them, as it's not very stable for the production process. So we need to use the energy storage. In this area, the government has announced that Taiwan will set up the 1,500 megawatt power storage system, and this is also related to the solar energy and wind power. So in the development process, I went to Europe and I found that there's one area which is lacking in Taiwan. This is the hydrogen energy. Last year, there's a roadmap announced by the National Development Council. We're actually we're lagging behind compared with Europe in terms of development of hydrogen development. So if we want to achieve the net zero roadmap, hydrogen in hydrogen industry and the carbon capture are also very important factors. Hydrogen it will not be an intermittent source of energy. It can be very stable. What I saw in Germany is that they, in the hydrogen infrastructure, like the installation of pipes, there's issues about what kind of a source we want to have from the hydrogen. So the European country invested a lot in this area to obtain clean hydrogen energy. So under this, with this trend, so we're talking about the general market. There's some indicators. There's which include the use of the water resources and also the sustainable use of the renewable energy, and many businesses want to join the RE 100, use the full green energy, and also the EV 100, which many major manufacturers have joined these initiatives as part of the corporate CSI. But it is they have to meet the standards in the scope 1 and scope 3. They need to reduce the carbon emission. If they cannot do that, it will be a group pressure for them to export their products. So this is not just CSR. This is the real issue of development in the future. If they don't do it, they will increase their cost. So this is why they have to take the net zero emission more seriously. They need to think about how they can use the clean energy. So it's not just about building more solar panels, but we have to do the inventory of the power consumed in terms of the transportation and production, how much carbon has been consumed. In Europe, there's a fee for the use of the energy, and in Europe you can buy energy from other companies, and this has caused the many companies to set up factories in the third world countries where the labor is cheaper. So in general, the carbon emission increased. So why we have these border restrictions, so to prevent the carbon emission from moving to another country. So these indicators we can evaluate, can be evaluated in terms of the how the country use the energy, and the general whether the industry meets the carbon neutrality goal. And in Taiwan, we have some policies. There's a goal that by 2050 that the 2022 that there we have a carbon reduction goal. With the business using power and increasing, we need to work on this area. There's a roadmap for 2050 net zero emission. You can by 2050 we need to have 9 to 12% of the nuclear hydrogen energy and an increased use of other renewable energies. We have set up policies for green energy. By 2050, we need to use 9 to 12% of energy should be to come from hydrogen. However, we are the capabilities. We are still lagging behind. There's still a gap for reaching the goal. But compared with Europe, which facing the shortage of natural gas. Europe is trying to use the hydrogen to as an alternative energy. I 2 weeks I came back from Germany 2 weeks ago. In Germany, I saw there there they use the they use the natural gas to replace the heavy oil, but now they're thinking adding the hydrogen to 5 to 20% for energy use. It found that if you add the hydrogen to the natural gas pipe, there would not be any negative impacts, and it still works very well. So currently, they apply the hydrogen to heating. In the future, Germany will use hydrogen for power generation, like the hydrogen powered train. And in Taiwan, there some business are studying how to achieve the zero carbon emission. For example, the TSMC, which has joined the RE 100 by 2020, it wants to achieve the goal of carbon neutrality. Other businesses like Delta and ASUS, they all mentioned that in their office buildings by 2030, they want to they want to reach carbon neutrality. But for the factories, the goal will be 2050. So how can they achieve these goals? Yeah, we have done an analysis that for companies like TSMC, a lot of the carbon emission come from the use of electricity, and 20% from the use of water. And many business have can recycle the wastewater. But you need to think. What you need to think is that when we're recycling, reusing these waste, we still have the energy consumption. We need to do some treatment, which can generate can cause some carbon emission. So we need to look at how easy it is to treat the wastewater. And for the carbon emission, 80% comes from the power consumption. The business used to think that the power supply is the irresponsibility of a Taiwan Power Company. So that if Taiwan Power do not transform its power, it would be very difficult. And for example, in Germany, there's in Rhine state, there was a lot of heavy industry like steel making. And the state decided to transform the energy. So the government set up a industrial park with the infrastructure based on the hydrogen energy. So when the government had some renewable energy planning, and they also had green buildings on the roof of there are solar panels, and they set up make wind power facilities, and they also use the hydrogen power for the heating and cooling. When they have these good infrastructure, the business coming to the car can consume less carbon, and so they can have a better green process and reduce the carbon emission. And so I think that the business in Taiwan can learn from the example. So they're just not paying lip service. They need to find a real solution to help their factories decrease carbon emission, and they need to focus on the energy transformation. They can just wait for Tide Power. The business need to take actions now. The tax tariff was levied, will be levied in 2024. The C-band policy of the European Union will be 2026. But before that, all the products export to EU will be registered for the production road and transportation road. So the carbon emission in Taiwan has a cost when the products are exported to Europe. So TSMC, it's possible for TSMC to transform 100% transform to clean energy. So the boss need to find the sources of green energy. Maybe they can purchase the green power certificate, but they're very hard to purchase. And most of the certificates are bought by TSMC. But if you can get the certificate, and then the business need to find other solutions. And so they're looking at the possibility of the hydrogen batteries. And yeah, maybe you can have the factories totally using the hydrogen power and with green building, and the business can adopt the energy saving measures, and so power energy saving technologies that one direction. And another area is the energy generation. In Taiwan, the mainstream are the wind power, solar power, and green power certificate. But yeah, the Europe has progressed to the hydrogen and energy to electrolyze the water to produce hydrogen. And the industrial park in Europe can generate power by themselves. They don't totally rely on the power companies. And this is the difference between Taiwan and the European countries. And some business will ask its business in Taiwan will ask the supply chain to meet the carbon neutral standards. This is to avoid that their carbon emission will be included in the cost of the products exported. And the TSM has its own power grid and the power management system. Delta has the kind of system. Delta also has set up a gigawatt level the self power generation facility. They have their own power storage system, and Delta also established the hydrogen energy department this year. Actually, they did it a few years ago, but power storage progressed faster. But now, but this year, they think that it is necessary to focus on the hydrogen energy. So in the future, if we want to cooperate with the European Union, we can help the European Union, as we have the very complete manufacturing supply chain. We have many industrial parks, and many business which can supply the components related to energy, and we can learn from the European for how they apply these technologies, and many companies have obtained the ISO 50001 certification. And these businesses are the examples who have done very well in green energy, but they still rely heavily on type power. And for the hydrogen power and we have and the fuel cells in Taiwan, they've been developed for more than 20 years. In this slide, there's a list of the Taiwan business. 3 or 4 are the foreign companies there. Because for the China Petroleum company imported the natural gas, and they supply to to other companies. So, and also the air product from the U.S. These 3 foreign companies have been in Taiwan for many years. They supply the petrochemical business, the hydrogen in Taiwan. They use the gray hydrogen. From this here you can see that bipolar the upstream bipolar place components. Taiwan can make these, and for the fuel cell, and Taiwan business can do and make them. And MEA for the application and system application for the generator and the mobile power source. Taiwan can all make these things, and 99% of the fuel cells Taiwan can make them. So we hope that all the foreign guests here can see that we have a very complete supply chain. So if we cooperate with the European, which focuses on the large system like trains, and Taiwan can supply the components or the precision parts, and this is the area we can work together. In Taiwan, we have more than 60 hydrogen energy demonstration sites. They're mostly about emergency backup power for buildings, for these, which is to replace the diesel generator. Fuel cell is. Let me just explain the fuel cell. That the lithium cell does not generate new power. It is used to store energy. Would use the energy when necessary. But of the fuel cell, it is a clean diesel generator indeed. It's supplied with the hydrogen, and it can generate power. It can generate new clean power continuously for a long time. For the Apple hydrogen cell, it can serve as a power station, like the Apple one, which can continue for a whole year. So it can serve as a mini power grid in case of emergency. If you have this hydrogen cell, then you can use it to generate power. And this is there are demonstration projects in Taiwan, but it's smaller. It's like a 5 kilowatt or 25, and no more than 50 kilowatt. This is because we do Taiwan mostly focused on the solar energy over the past years, and there's not too much budget given to the hydrogen power generation, and it is usually it usually serves as a emergency backup power source. In EU, the hydrogen power is a megawatt level, and Europe has been doing RE for many years. So their hydrogen, so their electrolyte is a megawatt level, and this is the area where we can work with Europe. So my time. These are the cases in Taiwan as and these the hydrogen power is used for the is very suitable for the emergency. For example, in Penghu, there's a green power independent charging station to supply the power without relying the power grid of Taipower. It can provide power to the motorcycles in Penghu Island. And we also cooperate with the some local governments for the smart community. There's solar energy on the roof, so that people can experience the use of green power in the public facilities. These are the projects we've been promoting. And for the transportation tools, for example, this been green power has been applied to drones or motorcycles. And next year, Taiwan is expected to have 2 hydrogen stations now, and also the hydrogen power bus. But in Europe, there are hydrogen powered bus fleets, and you can see these buses on the roads, and they have hydrogen charging stations in Europe. So I need to speed up. Please allow me 30 seconds. Blue Energy, the largest fuel cell company, which has been publicly listed, it has hundreds of megawatt installations for used by Coca-Cola, Apple, and Siemens. Which use their cells as the main power. This company used 60% of its components from Taiwan. So Taiwan plays a very important role, can play a very important role in supplying hydrogen components, and Taiwan has signed a cooperation MOU, especially in the clean energy. So if you find any opportunities for exchange of the clean energy, you can contact us, this alliance, and we can help you do the contact. Thank you very much.
的分享非常感谢。那听完上半场演讲之后呢，相信各位收获满满。那在各位的桌上呢，都备有提问单，也欢迎各位产业的先进将您的想法或对讲师有任何的提问，都欢迎您在提问单写下来。那可以交由我们后方的工作人员，因为我们会在下一个阶段的论坛当中和各位一起来进行 Q&A 的交流。那另外呢，也要跟各位分享呢，我们在今天也准备了这个抽奖的部分要来送给大家。所以请大家呢，待会儿务必在中午的时候到我们的报到处来领取抽奖券。那在中午的时候投入您的抽奖 抽奖券之后呢，就有机会可以获得我们今天为各位准备的礼券。那另外呢，我们在2023年，在我手上这一份，在4月12号到4月15号也举办了台北国际汽机车零配件的展览会，台北 MPA 邀请各位一同来参与。那如果有想要再进一步资讯了解的各位贵宾呢，我也欢迎到我们后方找我们工作人员来进行进一步资讯的洽询。那接下来就进行我们中场休息的。
Next is our break time. We have prepared a refreshment for you to enjoy. So we will start at 11:15. So make sure come back at 11:15. Thank you for your cooperation.
各位贵宾，我们下半场的议程即将在1分钟后正式开始，请各位贵宾呢先回座。那待会儿在中午也有中场的休息时间，欢迎各位可以继续到我们的摊位上与所有的厂商来进行交流。那我们活动即将在1分钟后马上开始，请各位贵宾呢可以先回座，那也请工作人员可以引导所有我们的贵宾先回座。好，各位贵宾，我们下半场的
We're just about to start out the next session. Please be seated. Before we get started, as a reminder, in 2023, April 12 to 15, Taipei Air Park, we will have a Taipei International Scooter Components Exhibition and auto charting. So please, if you are interested in the details of these two exhibitions, please contact with our staff. Next, let's start the session 2. We will invite Dr. Liu, Distinguished Professor of Department of Chemistry, National Taiwan University. He will be talking about development of solid-state and metal-air batteries. Let's welcome Professor Liu. So please be seated. Thank you very much. So one more time, let us invite Professor Liu. Give him a warm round of applause.
I would like to thank the organizing committee to invite me here. So I'm Lucy Liu from Department of Chemistry, also belong to the TEEMA of the Energy Storage System Society. So today I'm going to give you the development of the solid state and the metal air battery. So these two types obviously is a pretty new energy storage system that has been developed in Taiwan. So I just want to let you know the status of this kind of research. So the outline of my research were based on 5 parts. So the first one, I let you know the development trend of energy storage system, especially in Taiwan, and also let you know what is our future plan, especially for the solid-state battery. Then let you know the government policy and also Taiwan energy storage system industrial promotion areas of our society belong to part of TEEMA. Then give you the conclusion. So then the first part, I would like to let you know development trend of the battery energy storage. So as you, from the previous speaker, so you know the policy of the European country, how can they promote net zero of their policy? And also we know the energy, kind of energy of hydrogen in Taiwan. So this part I would like to let you know the development of the, especially for the battery system. So for the battery system, usually used for two kind of storage battery. So the first one is a so-called stationary application. That's based on the household, industrial, and commercial, and including the group energy storage system. So that is one of the big market we call storage energy system. Second one, I think you already know very well. That is a mobile application that's including electrical vehicle, electrical scooter. So especially in Taiwan, we have a lot of scooter around Taiwan. So if that one can be used kind of a battery, that would be good for the net zero targets. And then electrical buses is also one of the important mobile vehicle. So then, as you know, type of energy storage system in the year of 2018, so around 94% is from the pumped storage hydro system. But small amount, about 3.6 is from the electrical chemical energy storage system. Based on this small amount, but most of them belong to lithium battery. So it's more than 86%, and the other are small parts. So that's why if for the future to replace of the conventional hydro pump system, lithium battery would be one of the important one for choosers. So then this is a current trend for international storage battery system. So in the year of 2030, then that will reach to about 2,500 gigawatt. Then that is about 4 times as a nowadays system because of for the mobile driver, that is a big contribution for this. So as compared with various energy storage systems other than the lithium battery, so as you can see from the sodium sulfide battery, lead acid battery, or some other kind of battery. So if we talk about the energy density and the energy trip efficiency and the lifespan and the eco-friendly, so normally lithium battery would be one of the best. Especially I point out the efficiency can up to 95%. So other energy storage system cannot compete with this. So as you know, the hydro pump system is about 50 to 60%, and the hydrogen system is around 50 to 60%. So that is the unique by using the lithium battery for energy storage. So then this is a trend for stationary type of energy system. As you know, from the family through the industrial to the grid. So the full market is blooming. Then this one is for mobile type, and including from the 3C computer consumable things to the electrical vehicle and to the stationary part. I think especially electrical vehicle is occupy most of the target. Then this one shows you the current status of the domestic energy storage system in Taiwan. So from the battery system through the DC converter or charger or by directional inverter or energy management system, we have a full supply chain around Taiwan. So not only for this, and for the battery industry, so we also spend more than 20 years to set up all the supply chain in Taiwan. That's including the key material, anode, cathode, or conductive material, and including electrolyte. And we even have lithium battery assembly and also module assembly, and also application point of view. So that is our strength during the past 20 years, supported by our government to set up this basic lithium battery chain. And this one should give you some of the example. So nowadays in Taiwan, we have about 10 lithium battery in Taiwan. So with a total production around 5 gigawatt for the future. So maybe more than that. So you can see there's a booming company they want to put on for the battery production. So other than semiconductor, we thought probably the lithium battery will be another big event in Taiwan for the future. So give you some of the examples supported by our government. So the first one is from the 2017 to 2020. So Energy Bureau give the support for 4 different kind of company. They set up totally about 4.4 megawatt. And then they demonstrate a very stable energy storage system. The special thing is all the battery made in Taiwan. So that is a system that Energy Bureau wants we have a local technology developed in Taiwan. So not only for that, as you know, Thai power company, they want to set up so-called AFC. So it's an automatic frequency control, and FM is a frequency modulation system. So they deliver about 15 megawatt for 5 different kind of company. So they did not limit the battery should use in Taiwan. So they are allowed for international one. So they want to compare the battery performance as compared with the Energy Bureau one, use a local battery. So then up to now, according to the result by Thai power company, they say all the performance are very good up to now. So that's why we have expanded this kind of strength to more than 50 companies join this AFC system in the near future. So other than this conventional battery, what is our hope for the future technology? So here I would like to demonstrate to you the future solid-state battery. So as you know, for the conventional battery, it composed of 3 big components. One is a cathode. So cathode is a so-called lithium cobalt oxide, lithium nickel oxide, lithium manganese oxide. They are layer structure we call cathode. For the anode, composed by graphite. Graphite just like a car parking place, and lithium just like a car conducting in between the cathode and the anode. But in the middle, we need to let the lithium go through. So usually we use a liquid electrolyte. But this kind of liquid electrolyte is, if touched to air or moisture, they are easy to explosive. So that's the reason why limited the development of this technology. So as I demonstrate you for this liquid type of lithium battery, is nowadays everybody use it. Electrolyte is flammable. And also in the event of accident, a serious fire could be result. Okay, so that is a recently very famous movie actor. He drive a Tesla in Taoyuan and then give this accident. And also you need 10 times of water to kind of finish this kind of fire. And also electrolyte is also easy to freeze at low temperature, reducing battery life. So it means in Taiwan it's not a big trouble, but in kind of a very low temperature area, there could be another big issue. So that's why we notice this. So in Taiwan, we develop all solid-state battery. So you see the blue part is a kind of a liquid before, but now is a ceramic material. And also the anode part, other than the graphite or silicon, we can use lithium. Lithium could be increased capacity. Okay, so with this solid-state battery, with the advantage of high energy density and faster charging, and longer life and good thermal stability. And we would expect that this one could be for the future hope. And as you can see from this, per year versus energy density, watt-hour per kilogram. So nowadays it's about 300 watt-hour per kilogram. For the future, we want to push up to 500 megawatt per kilogram in the year of 2030. So the liquid electrolyte battery cannot approach this goal because low capacity, but we hope the old solid-state battery, by using the lithium as an anode, could be easier to get this goal. Then what kind of solid-state electrolyte can be used? They have a different kind of part. So you can see the dashed line is the ionic conductivity for the liquid electrolyte up to 10 to -2 Siemens per centimeter. As compared with that, the front two parts we call it the sapphire electrolyte can approach is about the same value as the liquid electrolyte. Other than that, oxide material, the third one and the fourth one is the oxide, could be a big hope, even lower conductivity. So then we compare with these 4 different parts. Garnet and the nacicon is an oxide material. And the sapphire is the part in the first and the second column. They can have a near value conductivity like liquid electrolyte. But the drawback like this, because they are sulfur-based, if explosive, then they will release H2S. Then that is heavier than the air. It's very toxic. So this is the type. Now Toyota, they use this sulfur type for commercial. But if you want to improve the safety, then the solid electrolyte by using the oxide material like a garnet and the nacicon could be the hope. But in between of them, you might be need to have the earlier products. The polymer type would be one of the alternative. But the problem is performance cannot be better than the sulfur and also the oxide materials. Then what is for the future other than all solid state? So now we have the kind of anode by using silicon graphite or lithium for all solid state. But for the more further part, we want to remove all the anode material. So that's we call anode-free. So if anode-free, then you will prevent or decrease the amount of anode part. Then just let lithium in between of cathode and your current corrector. So then in the final generation of battery, we hope the anode-free will be the final goal. So then you can see now for the polymer, sapphire, and the oxide, they have a developer and the investigator and all over the world, including some of the company from Taiwan. And also from now to the year of 2030, many companies, they announce this is a day for their company, they said they could put it into the market. So then other than this solid-state battery, what else for the future? So it means what else after 2030s? We thought the metal air battery would be the possible products for energy storage. Because of this material, as compared with the lithium battery, has a high energy density, low cost, and a clean power source. So as you see, for the lithium battery, after we set up all the battery, we charging first, then discharge. But other than lithium battery, for the metal air, we do the discharge first, then charge. So it means anode part, only lithium metal, like a solid-state battery, we use metal lithium as an anode. Electrolyte can be liquid or solid, but solid would be better than liquid. But for cathode, you know, cathode in the lithium battery is very heavy material, very expensive material composed of cobalt, nickel, and some metal as well. But for the air, there's nothing. So only air, something like oxygen or carbon dioxide or some gas. So that would be reduced a large amount of the weight of cathode material. So with this metal air material should be much, much less weight as compared with nowadays lithium battery. So the theory is like this. So after discharge first, then we get lithium peroxide. So after charging, we can get a reverse chemical reaction. So with this, I think still some starter material company for developer or for investigator, they are carry on. But especially, very surprisingly, India government, they are more stressed on this kind of products for development. What is useful for this? Because it's very light. So in Japan, they just said, because every day they have a car accident, many people die for this. But for the future, if they use metal air, what's going to happen? So your car can fly because of less weight. Okay, so this is a metal air battery, could be the future vehicle applications with a lighter assembly. Then I move to the third part, the government policy. So I think you might be heard many times for this part. I think our government announced we want to have a net zero at 2030 is our short-term goal, but long-term goal, we hope we can in the year of 2050. But nowadays, we put at least $30 billion for the beginning funds for the research. And this announcement from March 30th of this year. And our president also claimed we should have a net zero at 2050. So with this, as you can see, in the year of 2050, we need to have a renewable energy around 60 to 70%. But as compared with this data with our neighborhood country like Korea and Japan, they also have a 60 to 70 goal for their target, but they include 20% of nuclear power. But our country don't have nuclear power, and how can we approach this goal? So that is a big challenge, and this is a hope we can cooperate with a European country to help us, or we cooperate together to touch this goal. Then for the energy transition, and as you know, energy storage, nowadays in Taiwan, we develop the wind power or solar power, but they all call unstable energy. So definitely during the night, you need the energy storage system to tune this kind of energy storage for the green energy. So it means for the near future, energy storage system would be booming. So that's why in Taiwan, we have at least 10 companies that are stressed on the battery manufacturing. So we want to improve the technology of the prediction of our renewable energy, especially in the year of 2015, up to 60 to 70%. So before that, I think in the year of 2040, all our electrical vehicles, including buses, scooter, or any kind of transportation, would be all use kind of battery type. Then I would like to went to my fourth report. So it's a kind of this Taiwan Electrical and Electronic Manufacturer Association. This is the association that hold this kind of workshop. So this society actually for the industrial output or total export share more than 50 to 60%. So it's one of the biggest society in Taiwan. Then in the year of 2018, so we thought energy storage might be important. So that's why the TEEMA want us to set up another section called Taiwan Energy Storage System Industrial Promotional Alliance, and to start this kind of energy storage work. Now we have 4 sections. So one of our section head give the presentation for the hydrogen energy. She belongs to the policy research group. So we also have an industrial promotional group, try to help industrial negotiate with the government, and also technical exchange group. So we organize many kind of technology conference. We invite not only domestic but international give a talk for the negotiation many new technologies. So then come to the end of my talk. So I think per year versus battery performance. Nowadays, I think everybody use liquid lithium battery, but the drawback and also the limited of the energy density, how can we cope this kind of problem? So I hope in the near future, solid-state lithium battery would be replace this and give the better performance before 2030s. After 2030s, we expect metal air battery could be our goal. So then, for today's forum, we talk about green energy. So in Taiwan, we have solar power, wind power, and in the future, we want to develop hydrogenic energy. So not only for this, we also have geothermal power and ocean power and bioenergy we want to develop in Taiwan. So, but other than that, how can we do the balance? So actually, power consumption need an energy storage system to comparable and get the target in the year of 2050. We can get a net zero carbon. So that is our goal for the future. So for my conclusion, I think I give you the development trend of energy storage system, especially in Taiwan, and for the future technology of solid-state battery, and our government policy for these kind of things. And we have our association to promote the energy storage. So then I think take today's opportunity, we really hope we can use our strengths of Taiwan based on the stationary storage system and the mobile storage system can have a chance to cooperate with the European Union or European country hand in hand. For the future, we can set up all over the world energy storage system. So this is the hope from this kind of international cooperation conference. So then, this is the end of my talk. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
谢谢刘教授，非常精辟精。
Thank you, Professor Liu, for your enriched presentation. Please be seated.
Mr. Limber, Chief Representative and Executive Director of German Trade Office Taipei, to share his presentation. Let's welcome Mr. Limber. Welcome. And today he's going to share with us on the topic of Taiwan-Europe energy-related issues. 那也提醒各位贵宾呢，手上如果有提问单，就可以交给我们后方的工作人员，待会进行 Q&A. Okay, you can start your presentation.
Okay, so thank you very much. Thanks for TEEMA for inviting me. I'd like to put a focus on the energy transition in Germany, what has been done in Germany, and then I'd like to put a focus on the topic where are chances for German-Taiwanese companies to cooperate, and in particular, where are the chances and opportunities for Taiwanese companies to go to Germany and to be part of the energy transition process in Germany and to carry out this process and activities to other countries and regions. I'd like to start with a quick introduction of our office. We, the German Trade Office, are here since more than 40 years, and we are representing the German industry in Taiwan. We have different tasks. Firstly, we are the representative office for the German industries and companies, and we act as an intermediary between the German and Taiwanese business. Here we are doing networking events and forums like this, also to interconnect our companies, and we understand ourselves really as a business enabler. And the second big pillar is we offer also services for German companies starting business here or enlarging the business in Taiwan. And of course, we support also Taiwanese companies when they want to go to Germany to find the right place to invest, and also if they are looking for business partners and opportunities in Germany, we are the first point in contact to support doing business there. And what is the basis of the German and Taiwanese business relation? We are looking back on a very successful year 2021. Last year, our business and trade volume grew by more than 27%. So we reached first time more than $20 billion. And from my perspective, the very good thing is that our bilateral trade between Germany and Taiwan is really a balanced trade. So we see very stable exports from Germany coming here to Taiwan, but also very stable and reliable exports from Taiwan to Germany. And the main pillar of our trade relations are B2B business. So our industries support the industry in the other country. And also 2022, this year, seems to be very successful. We have seen a further growth of our trade volume by more than 20%. So this demonstrates the huge relevance of the German-Taiwanese business relation. And this made Taiwan also to the 5th most important trading partner in Asia for Germany. So the trade volume between Germany and Taiwan is a little bit lower, but similar to the trade volume Germany has with India. And if you take the number or if you take the population, then you can see the huge value of our relations. And this brought also roughly 250 German companies here to Taiwan, which employ 15,000 employees as a rough estimation. So we see German companies, German business has a very strong footprint here in Taiwan, and we are happy to cooperate, and we see also further investments. I'd like to mention here only investments have been announced last year. For example, Merck, they will invest within the next 5 years 400 million euro in Taiwan in the semiconductor business. So this demonstrates the huge relevance. Now I'd like to move forward to the main topic, to the energy transition as a basis, because we see German and Taiwan's economies are strongly based on industrial production. The industrial share in Taiwan and in Germany is much higher, as we can see it in Europe or in the US. And for the industry, a stable and safe energy supply is really essential and needed, and this makes it different. And within the transition process, we see a lot of movements in our energy systems. So we are seeing a move from fossil-fueled energy generation towards renewable energies. We see a move from steerable energy sources now to volatile renewable energy sources. And we see also the movement from central energy generation to decentral energy generation and decentral systems with energy flows in both directions, and not only the distribution from from the generation unit to the consumer. So the energy transition itself is in Germany not a new thing. We started roughly 40 years ago, and the basis was, let's say, the resistance or the movements in Germany against the further build of nuclear power plants. And these are also the roots of the Green Party in Germany, the resistance against the commercial use of nuclear power. So in the 80s, the theoretical basis for the energy transition in German Energiewende was created when the first institutes worked on scenarios. How can we replace nuclear energy, and how can we make economic growth possible with a lower energy consumption and taking more care on our energy resources. Then the development speeded slowly up. We have seen from the 80s till 2000 the development of photovoltaic power plants. We have seen first demo units for onshore wind power plants. And then in 2010, the key policy was announced that we have to, or we want to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by 80–90% in comparison with the 1990 figures. At that time, nuclear energy was still part of the energy portfolio for Germany. That has been changed in 2011 after the Fukushima. Then we have decided on the final phase out of nuclear energy. And within the plan, the last nuclear power plants should go out of operation end of this year, and only caused by the current crisis in Europe. We are now in an extended operation mode till spring last year, so we are using the existing fuel in the power plants to generate some energy, but with the usage of this energy, nuclear energy, or the story of nuclear energy will come to an end in Germany, and our energy system will be changed towards a renewable-based energy system. And this is driven also by one target, that we are targeting to have a net zero emission industry. And this creates, let's say, really substantial challenges for our industries. And the question is it possible to combine economic growth with a reduction of greenhouse gas emissions? If I take the figures from Germany, here we can see the development of greenhouse gas emissions since 1990. And from 1990 to 2020, we see a reduction of the greenhouse gas emissions by roughly 41%. We are on the way, but we are not there where we want to be. But if we compare this with the development of the GDP, so we see in the same time that the German GDP grew by 160%. So we have been able, or the German industry was able to match the economic growth with a decrease of the CO2 emissions. So here we can also see that industrial society, industrial economies are going hand in hand with a target to create a net zero emission, and we do not have really conflicting targets. What is the basis? The energy generation is one big pillar for the success of, let's say, this reduction of CO2 emissions. Here you can see the German energy production since 2002, the development. So we can see that the nuclear energy is decreasing, and end of this year or spring next year, we will see this will go down to zero. We see at the moment a quite stable energy generation based on lignite. This is the base load in Germany. In comparison, the hard coal share went substantially down, and also we see a slightly increase of the gas usage for the electricity generation. The idea behind was on our way to a green energy generation system. The gas-fired power plants should act as a bridge technology because they are very flexible, and to burn gas is a little bit more environmental friendly as using hard coal or lignite. At the moment we see also here a change that we cannot use gas technologies really as a bridge technology, and this will substantially speed up the ramp-up phase or the enlargement of our renewables, because here, if you take the curves for the renewables, you see, oops, no. Yeah, at the renewables, you see also a substantial development. Hydrogen as a technology, like in Taiwan, is very stable because all of our countries are using more or less 100% of the resources. You can increase the shares a little bit by more efficient technologies. We see a quite growth in photovoltaic. Photovoltaic growth is mainly based on photovoltaic became much cheaper, and we've seen a huge increased efficiency of this technology. So it becomes more and more common. And of course, it's also driven by increased prices, that more households start to build up their own photovoltaic installments to get more, become more energy independent. But from my perspective, the interesting part is the main part of renewable energy is generated by by onshore wind. And this is also a huge potential here, which is not utilized. And if we have decentralized systems, then onshore wind is a technology which generates the cheapest and easiest available energy. And we see also that offshore wind is ramping up, but it takes time. It's not that you make the decision, I'd like to have an energy system based on offshore, and within 2 or 3 years you see substantial growth. The development of offshore projects takes between 5 and 10 years, and the potential is there, but it takes time. Germany, Europe is working on the development of offshore technologies since, I would say, 20 years, and you see how slowly the ramp up is. So with offshore technology, we cannot replace very quickly our fossil-fused generation. And if we want to speed up this process, that's from my perspective the lessons learned in Germany. You have to work with a very diversified approach. You have to use all technologies which are available. This means photovoltaic, onshore wind, offshore wind, geothermal, and hydro to reach the ambitious targets to get our industries net zero emission and climate neutral, and to ensure a really reliable and stable energy supply for our industries. So what are the goals of the German energy transition? We call it the 5 Ds. It's of course the decarbonization, the decrease of greenhouse emissions. We are targeting 2045 to be CO2 neutral emission. Then we see also a change of the supply chains, the digitalization of the network, of the transmission systems. This means we are targeting to install smart metering systems in all households to make the demand side more manageable. These are the first opportunities. Then a big target is that we are working on the digression of the energy production costs for renewable energies, because at the moment renewable energies is quite expensive, but we have the economy of scale. So we have seen in the photovoltaic where we started 2005 with the prices for panels, and where we are now, what is the price for 1 kilowatt hour, and we expect the same development also in the latest technologies and also in new technologies. And of course, we have to ensure that our grid allows the connection of all smart power or smart devices, that we have really a grid and network that allows communication in both directions. And the demand side management is one of the big topics, that we match the demand with the generation. We have seen in Europe the first big industrial parks which change their working shifts to the predicted energy generation to use, let's say, the volatile green energy for the industrial production. And of course, we see in decentralized systems, we see more decentralized generation. With decentralized systems, you have also the advantage, of course, you're getting independent from energy imports, but also decentralized systems are also much more resilient in case of crisis. We see in other places in the world that energy systems are one of the most of the systems under most pressure and risk. And if you have really smaller decentralized units which can work also as island networks, you ensure an operation also during, let's say, these challenging or difficult times. And this is not only war, this can be cyber attacks, natural catastrophes like typhoons, earthquakes. If you have one big power generation unit which is disturbed, then your complete grid collapse. If you have really a decentralized systems with a lot of loops, then you're much more resilient, and also the industry can work during, let's say, these more challenging times. So what are the trends along the energy value chain, and where are the chances also for the industry? As I've mentioned, the generation is the backbone, is the pillar. We see a change to renewable systems. This will make us more independent from energy imports. We see a more sustainable energy generation because of the independence from energy imports and based on decentralized structures. Then we have the storage technology, hydrogen. That's, I would say, the state-of-the-art technology to ensure that we are using 100% of the energy generated by renewable energies, which cannot be steered, but should be used. Then within the transmission and distribution system, we will see also a lot of changes. We will see smart grids, which means that we have to manage our grids, that they are able to transport the energy in both directions and to integrate the decentralized units. The volatile renewable energy production means we have to increase also the capacity to transport the energy. In Germany, it's a big problem. In old times, our industrial consumption was very close to the energy generation. And now with the renewable energies, we see a big surplus of energy generation in the north of Germany, but the industrial heart is in the south of Germany. So we have the challenge to transport the energy from the north to the south. This means we need huge investments, and of course we have to build up smart grids which are able to be utilized not only for transport in one direction. And of course grid stability is also a hot topic. If you integrate a huge amount of renewable energy, you have to take care on your frequency in the net that you have really a stable grid operation. This is all technology-based, also like smart metering, and technology is one strength of the Taiwanese industry. So here I see huge chances for Taiwanese partners to get within the supply chain of the German companies, German industry, working on these topics. And of course, on the consumption side, at the moment we see still consumption, but we don't have a strong link between the consumption and the generation. And I would say in future we will see more business models where we see a match between the consumption and the generation to find the economic optimum. And my personal favorite is energy efficiency on the consumption side, because energy efficiency, these are really most likely the low-hanging fruits to cut down the energy to make our industries more environmental friendly. Here in Taiwan, we have the example, you have roughly 150 gigawatt energy consumption, electricity consumption within the industry. If you replace only 10% by energy efficiency, or you cut down by 10%, this means you do not, or this reflects 50% of the nuclear generation in Taiwan, or replaces 200 or roughly 200 offshore wind turbines with each 14 megawatt installed capacity. If you consider how intensive we are discussing the ramp-up phase of the offshore industry in Taiwan, end of this year, we will have 200 turbines on the ground and working, which is a big success. But we might reach the same result by putting more effort on energy efficiency. And I would say these are the chances where we can become active, and energy efficiency is most likely technology-driven or it's process-driven, and process-driven application means you need data, you need sensors, and these are again strengths of the Taiwanese industry, where they can deliver the hard and software to be part of this change. So again, what are the business opportunities? As mentioned in the generation, the Taiwanese companies can easily become part of the supply chain of the German companies or of the companies active here. Here I'd like to emphasize we see worldwide supply chains, in particular within the offshore wind industry. And if you are becoming part of these supply chains, you will be part of the worldwide supply chain. I think the story of local business, local, let's say, manufacturing will come to an end. We will see really centralized units based on, let's say, diverse supply chains. And in future, we will see local or regional maintenance and service hubs, because all of these installments should be operated for 20, 25 years. And during 20, 25 years, I would say you need much more effort for the maintenance services in comparison with the one-time erection of the wind turbines. Within the transmission system, we see also the request for technologies to make our grids smarter. On the consumption side, as mentioned also, it's technology driven. We see here also the possibilities to cooperate to develop these technologies, also to cut down our energy consumption. Yes, and national energy consumption. And within the segments, we see also mobility. Also, Germany changes its mobility towards battery electric vehicles. Professor Liu has mentioned the batteries as one of the core elements. But we see also here charging stations. We need a complete new infrastructure. The grids have to be stabilized to be able to absorb the energy. As far as I know, one of the German energy supplier published within the next days the results of a 2-year study. They have operated different islands to find out what is the effect of more e-mobility within the grids. Where do you need some further investments, or is it balanced by different user cases? So from that perspective here, Taiwanese technology might help also the energy transition in Germany, and this will create advantages here and also in Germany. And hydrogen as a new booming business, we see R&D in Germany. Here, I would say, are also a lot of opportunities for Taiwanese partners to step in, to go from Taiwan to Germany. And the last pillar, which is also quite important, is a recycling industry and our way to more circular economies, because we will reach the net zero industry and society only if we are working more careful with our resources. And I would say at the moment we do not speak more about waste or recycling. Now we are speaking more about raw materials, and it doesn't matter where these raw materials are coming from, whether they are coming out of the industrial circle or they are generated in the traditional way by mining or steel making. So these are the big opportunities. I would say here the German industry is very open and welcome new partners to develop this process, because we see it's a very challenging process, and at the moment or also in future we will see in Germany and also in Taiwan limited resources, so we have to bundle our capacities, human resources, to reach our joint target to get a net zero industry, net zero society as soon as possible. What is your way to Germany? Because Germany is a quite complex state, I would say. We consist of 16 federal states which have similar or their own tax system, different support systems. So the easiest way is you can contact our office if you're interested to come to Germany. We will discuss with you what are your general demands, what are you looking for, what are the important parts of your business. And then we will make together with you a free first selection of interesting topics, and we will bring you in contact with the federal states or of the location interesting for you. And then you will contact these investment officers with our support, with our permanent support to make your own solution. And we represent here in Taiwan not only the Federal Republic of Germany, but also 6 of the federal states with different interests and key regions. So it's Schleswig-Holstein, Hamburg, Bremen, North Rhine-Westphalia, where we see the, let's say, core of Taiwanese investments, Hessen and also Baden-Württemberg. But if you have interest in other states or federal states, we are more than happy to help you. And it's our target to increase the Taiwanese investments in Germany, because at the moment we see there is a small imbalance of investments of Taiwanese in Germany. And I have to mention, don't be afraid of, let's say, the German system. It's not as complicated as it looks in the first round. And also other international investors, if you see Intel invested in Germany, very successful. Tesla built up its own, let's say, manufacturing site. Also, Taiwanese companies are there. Global Wafers, Highwind is very active, Fairfriend Group. So we see a number of Taiwanese companies active in Germany. So it's also open for small and mid-sized companies and new partners. And my time is up. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Lindberg. Thanks for your presentation and thanks for the strongly support for today's event. 那接下来呢，也非常感谢刚刚所有的讲师非常精彩的演说，相信大家有很多的想法，那我们已经搜集了。接下
Okay, we have collected some questions. We start our Q&A session. We would like to invite the moderator. Let's welcome Dr. Su from College of Social Science, National Taiwan University, who will be the moderator. And then let us invite some panelists. Then let us invite Dr. Lin Zhuozhen, Deputy Director of Research, Division 1, Taiwan Institute of Economic Research. And let's invite Dr. Ruxi Liu, Distinguished Professor of Department of Chemistry, National Taiwan University. So let's welcome all the panelists, and then we start a Q&A. Let's give the floor to Dr. Su. Thank you. And we have heard the four very distinguished speeches. We have collected some questions, but the last one from Mr. Lindberg, that will be the last speaker. I have not got any questions yet, but just let me raise the questions that I have on hand already. So for the respective speakers to respond. First one is France. So he is not wearing the translation set.
So that means among the 6 scenarios for the future composition of the energy, of electricity, when and how will France make a decision and why? So that is the first one, okay. And another about France is agriculture. So how to maintain the food security in the transitional period in France, because France is an important producer and exporter of agricultural products. So that is the 2 questions about France, and particularly in the future composition about the nuclear power, how to maintain and how to persuade the public to maintain the nuke power in the future. And okay, so the second question is about Taiwan's small and medium enterprises. So when the gigantic and the big enterprises can easily transform their business model into a new model, but how could the small and medium-sized business in Taiwan to adapt themselves to the new situation? So that is the second question to Director Lin. So for Taiwan's small and medium-sized business, and for Professor, so that is battery, and how is the prospect of the battery, because that is the key factor, and how is the China's role in the battery and new energy, and etc. So what's the impact upon Taiwan's production, Taiwan industry, and considering the decoupling and geopolitical instability? And for Mr. Director Lindberg, perhaps I just ask the question. Now we know that in Germany, we have this geopolitical, really a big change. Okay, so, but in your speech, you didn't mention the new factor, because all this you prepared, it seems to be before what was happening in Ukraine. And now it's totally different world. What is the Germany new strategy for new energy? So that's my question. Okay, but owing to the time limit, so each one 4 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, no big deal. Okay, so the first question regarding what scenarios France is going on, it seems to be the one with new nuclear, but the share of the new nuclear still has to be determined. However, the government announced this year that they are planning to produce both a new EPR, which is a European pressurized reactor, so to produce a new version for the next decade. And the second thing is they also invest in what we call small modular reactors. So it's a smaller size, smaller power output that, for example, can fit for a factory, can fit for a small city, or some also can be moved from one place to another. So actually many different countries focus on this kind of new technology. And yeah, France is planning to produce new nuclear, and the 3 pillars of the scenarios will be, of course, for solar, for electricity, solar, wind power, and nuclear. The second question, I think, regards agriculture, correct? It was related to France export a lot of food. However, there is a lot of concern regarding the land use, especially the deterioration of the capacity to produce, the deterioration regarding if you have a disease among crops and these kind of things. So actually, the reduction of carbon emissions regarding agriculture is mainly to produce fertilizer in a different way and to reduce the share of fuel, or like, for example, for tractors and machinery, which are used in food production. But the turning point will be how to produce differently. So this is agroecology, agroforestry is based, where you mix different kind of food, when you mix forest with agriculture plant. That's when actually you reduce a risk and of like diseases, but also you provide better, how to say it, a better quality of soil. You don't lose the quality of the soil. And the last question, I'm sorry, you have to... I mentioned the 6 scenarios, so it should be like the one with new nuclear. I knew there was like a last question. Oh, the public. Yeah, well, that's the hardest one. Yeah, indeed, the public is something very important, especially in the last 20 years, because many things has been said about nuclear, many things has been said about like the use of nuclear, especially the accident in Fukushima and before in Chernobyl, provide an image of nuclear which is quite hard to get rid of. I think the main goal is actually to share information, factual information that we have about nuclear, which first of all is a low carbon energy, one of the lowest, according not to France, but to European Energy, to International Energy Agency. The second thing is, of course, there is a risk. It has to be managed. That's why we have maintenance. That's why currently, actually, some of our reactors are down because of that, because you have to check, double check, etc. And the last thing is the management of the waste. So many different kind of information have been shared, good and bad information. So this is also something we have to work it and to do factual, like true factual information about the nuclear. And then, of course, as I mentioned during the different presentation, to involve the public in the strategy, in the decisions. That's what helps them to take concrete decision. For instance, a couple of years ago, they did the Convention Citoyenne, which is a random people, French citizens who were who were presented by scientists. Time up, okay. I will finish quickly on that. Who were presented the different climate change, what we can do and what can be done. And they took this decision without bashing nuclear. They took this decision with just like taking the fact and what can be done to maintain our electricity low carbon.
Okay, so that means in France, the nuclear power will not disappear.
It's not the way we are going to.
You mean not disappear? So that would be new and classical nuclear powers coexist in the future.
It's the way that the government chooses to go.
Okay.
But ensuring the safety of both conditions for both historical nuclear and the new one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And give a big applaud. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Director Lin.
I think everyone in the stage will speak English, so I think I should speak English too. Okay, so my question is about, I think Jonathan already said a lot, so maybe everyone forgot about my question. So I mentioned it again. My question is about, someone asked me the small and the medium enterprise, they have no so much of the money, so how can they do to save the carbon tax or carbon fee in the future, right? Okay. So I think the first one is if your customer needs your key components, and they will pay. Maybe your customer is a very big company, right? So if they need your key this is the truth. That's because the big company told me that they buy some key components from the small or medium factory, and they will invest them to help them their factory to have the zero emission solutions. So for example, they do the LED and the energy saving way, and another they will help them to do the energy management system, and the second they will help them to do the renewable energy, to do the energy creation, and the second then they will help them to do the energy storage, and also to helping them maybe to use the fuel cell and the hydrogen to generate the clean energy. So this is the first way I think you can do. And the second, another way, but I think you need to find the green material to change your process to be more reduce your carbon emission. And also, I think this is not only the enterprise you can do, but also I think the policy regulation for Taiwan is the most important, because I think the economic and the industry development for Taiwan is very important in the future, and we all will face the zero emission and the CBAM policy from between the Taiwan and the Europe. So I think I want to ask our government, and we need to have some subsidy from about helping the small and the medium enterprise. And also right now the MOEA also have this kind of the policy right now. So you can apply some subsidy from the government and to set up the more and more clean energy for your factory. And also, you can co-work with your supply chain and your customer to do the clean energy by yourself too.
Thank you. That means perhaps they have to start immediately now to prepare themselves for the future. Yeah. That is the key. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lin. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Professor Liu.
Okay. So the question is, how can we extend our strength of our local battery company compete with their future market all over the world? For my personal point of view, I think Taiwan market is really too small as compared with others. But however, we have a very good industrial chain to set up already, more than 20 years from beginning to now. I think this is the time for us to find out the possible market. For example, European country, if they want to set up the local battery company, I think we can cooperate with them, and also to find out both strengths. Then we can develop a special battery for their purpose. I think that would be a good way to get away with the competitive with especially the China company. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Liu. Thank you. Okay, Lindbergh, please.
Yeah. So thank you very much. You put a high pressure on me because I think I'm now the last guy between you and the lunch break. So I keep me short. You have asked whether the current developments in Europe reflect the German strategy. I would say no. The target is and will be that we have a net zero emission industry society 2045. This means we'd like to move out nuclear and fossil fuel-based energy production out of our supply chains. At the moment, it comes too quick. I would say the crisis heavily affects us in the moment, our economies, and now it's a target of our political or of the government to find short-term solutions that we manage these very negative effects we feel in Germany. This is done by the extension, by the, let's say, reasonable extension of the lifetime of the nuclear power plants without returning to nuclear. So we only use the existing energy within the systems to generate electricity, but then the nuclear story in Germany, I would say, is done. And this is, in my perspective, final. This is a political decision, let's say, covered by the majority of the German population. We see other countries took other decisions. We see in the borders, let's say, maybe some room for discussions, how to work with ongoing nuclear or how we work with phase out of nuclear. But at the end, our target is to keep our energy systems towards, or move it, develop it towards a green system. And here we are on the way. And I'm always like to emphasize in Mandarin and Chinese, the word crisis consists of two characters, and one stands for opportunities. And also this crisis now has an opportunity, if we manage the immediate effect in a reasonable way, that we speed up the process to get independent. Because if we are now managed to get independent from energy imports from Russia, also, if the situation is changed again, we do not need this energy anymore. And from that perspective, I would say we are on a good way, and the target 2045 is given and defined, and we will speed up the process to go there to keep Germany as an industrial center in Europe and to keep it attractive for our companies and also for companies investing in Europe.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for four speakers for their excellent explanations. And we still have 5 minutes, and so we can collect now the second round of questions. And so perhaps you just raise your hand. We can invite, perhaps we can have 2 questions. And you just, okay, one and the other. We don't have other people. Okay, so could you introduce yourself shortly before asking questions? Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, thank you, all the speakers, right? I'm the Sunrock company, right? Sometimes for the electrical, sometimes the transmission distribution, right? But everybody is happy for the missing. One thing is that H2 maybe is a very good chance for Taiwan, right? But H2 have different quality. You can use for electricity, you can use for industrial. But about the cost, marketing, you need the government how can do the support. This is the challenge. Sometimes you have a lot of the opportunity. This is good, but the challenge. Can you give me some ideas? Yeah, from the marketing, from the cost, right? How can do the choice to be useful? Otherwise, just don't you say something very good, but the reality. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So that's for Director Lin.
Okay, thank you for, I got the last 2 questions. Okay, and thank you for your questions. And everyone asked me about this kind of the question very, very many times. So I think the first of all, we need to think about, you see, the experience from the Europe. If one day Taiwan no longer have the natural gas, if one day maybe we need to face this kind of situation too. So if we only have one fuel or one resource of the energy, that's very dangerous. So we need to find another way to use it. But the cost of the hydrogen is expensive. That's true. Right now it's expensive. And for the Europe or for the global, that's very, very expensive right now too. And especially if in the future we ask that we need to use not only gray hydrogen, but also we need to maybe use the green hydrogen, 100% green hydrogen, that will be more and more expensive too. But you need to think back of the past 30 years. Maybe 30 years ago, the solar power, the panel of the solar power is very expensive too. It's 10 times expensive than nowadays. So when the new technology or new energy we need to use, we need to learn the experience from the past. So when we use the hydrogen, maybe 10 times scale up in the future, the cost will cost down one day. And also, we can use more clean and renewable energy or environmental friendly technology for the global or for our Earth. Well, that will be the better way. And also, I suggest that we cannot only use the one energy for a country. We need to choose the more and the multiple different environmental friendly and zero emission solution together. That will be the best way. So I hope that my answer can satisfy your question, or you can ask me later. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I suppose that's a lot of questions on the subject could not be easily answered because it's really a challenge to all the human beings. But it seems that one of the keys of the future energy is in the hands of the professors. So that means it depends on the research and innovation of the different technologies, which will push the decision makers to make different choices. So professors are important. That's important. That's the most important conclusion of today. Okay, so yeah, so perhaps I just invite each of 4 speakers to give one remark for 1 minute, please.
Okay. Well, my only remark, as you said, rely on professors, on research. It needs help from the government to scale up, to industrialize. But whatever you do, whatever you choose, it has to be done soon. It has to be done in the following years. That's because you set up the roadmap for the 2030, 2050, etc. But think big, but act now. That's my only, I think, advice.
Time. Thank you. Lin?
Okay. Okay. So I think I already take a lot of time. Okay. But I think after my experience in the past 1 month, I go to Germany and France, and I think that the most important is not that we try to calculate and waste a lot of time. We think we need to do it right now. And just the people working in the Germany government told me that they just want to do it right now and to see it really can work or not, and just solve the problem. Not only just stay here and to calculate and to think, is that okay or not? Is the cost very high or not? You need to do it now, and you can make it happen right now.
Okay, can be done. Thank you. Thank you. Professor Liu.
Yeah, okay, so just mention new technology rely on the research. Maybe the professor would be one of the answer can give it too. But professor don't have money to do this. Then we need support from government. But government can give a different kind of research on different kind of resources. But I think the wisdom government make the correct decision would be very important things for this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Lin.
I would say, considering that we have the joint target to get climate neutral latest 2050, I would say it's no chance to exclude any technology. We have to be open. We have to use any opportunity. Then we don't have the chance to do it standalone. It's part of an international target. So we have to cooperate. We have to build up teams and partnerships to speed it up. And then that's it, I would say. Make it happen.
Make it happen. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Please join me to give a big applaud to the 4 speakers for their excellent presentations and dialogue. And I announce the end of this forum. Thank you very much. Thank you.
周院长今天呢为我们的座谈。
Okay, thank you for the moderator. Thank you for all the panelists. Morning's forum is ended right here. One more time, as a reminder, for all the participants for the morning and in the afternoon, you will have the chance to gain the good gift, this voucher from this hypermart. And we will draw 20 lucky people. So use your lunchtime, drop your ticket, and you have a chance. In 2 p.m., we will close the box, and then now next is our lunch hour and the social time. We have prepared a lunch box in the back, so please pick up your lunch box. Also, on the left-hand side, we have the booth, exhibition booth. Welcome to use the time to have a visit to our manufacturer. So we will start at 1:30 for afternoon session, 1:30. So please be back on time. One more time, thank you for your cooperation.